What's up, YouTube? Alright guys, today we are going to talk about how to make your plants fuller because we all love full plants, don't we? Let's start off by talking about the plants that I have here today. I have this Pothos, and this one has always been my problem child. This one is so unruly. She just lives life by her own rules. She doesn't take it from anybody. She doesn't listen. She just does whatever she wants. And I accidentally sunburnt her really bad. So I don't know, I felt like it was time to kind of show you guys how I would deal with this situation with this kind of like sparse leaves, and like what I would do in this situation, and also what I would do in this situation where we just have like a long trail. This is my Silvery Ann, and yeah, these are both in need of some help. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about 5 things that can help make your plants fuller and just more bushy at the top and not so long in between each node. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Number 1. Pruning is my personal favorite because you can make little baby plants out of it. And basically all you do is you take a plant that isn't very full at the top that you want to make fuller. You can cut off all of these little branches, and it forces the plant to put more growth into the top because it doesn't need to supply nutrients to the branches, so all of it goes into the top. All of the energy in the plant goes to filling out the top, so you can prune these. And the best thing about pruning them, and the reason that it is my favorite method, is because you can just take your cuttings and stick them in water, stick them in some sphagnum moss. If you're an expert grower, you can stick them in soil. My personal favorite is water, just because I like to watch all the roots grow. It's beautiful to see, but you can also use the other methods as well. I wouldn't recommend doing soil like right up front, especially if you're a new grower, new to propagation. I've never tried it, and I've had my plants for like a year and a half now probably, so yeah, I would recommend water propagation for sure. A cool little tip that I learned recently is there's this stuff called rooting hormone, and you put it on your plants, on your cuttings, before you put them into whatever medium you're using, soil, sphagnum, whatever. And I always thought that it made the plant like grow faster, like it helped it root faster, but I actually recently found out that it does not help it root faster. It just protects against bacteria. So, which is still good, but you can actually use a sort of cinnamon, like a really strong spicy cinnamon, and it'll do the same thing. So that's a cool little fact that I learned. Thank you, PvP plant guy, and I don't remember the other one's name, but thank you guys. Number 2, fertilization. It's always good to fertilize, especially like this Pothos family. It's always good to fertilize at least once a month in the summer. It's not a good idea usually to fertilize in the winter, just because the plants have less growth due to less sunlight. If you use the same amount of fertilizer in the winter, it's going to end up burning the plant because it's not as much growth, and so it's just going to sit in there and burn the roots, burn the plant. You know, you get the picture. I know of 2 types of fertilizer. There's liquid fertilizer and like solid fertilizer. For the solid, you just like sprinkle it on the top, water your plants, let the excess drain out, and that's how you fertilize it, like that. And then with the liquid, you can just dilute it with water. All the instructions will usually be on the package of whatever fertilizer you buy, and you can just water your plants with the fertilized water. Okay, number 3, more sun. We all know plants love sun. These plants actually can grow in like pretty low light conditions, but they prefer to be in a bright indirect light space. But when you do grow them in like a darker corner, the leaves tend to get farther and farther apart because the plant is putting all its energy into stretching out and making it to the light source. So if you want to move your plant into like a brighter area, then the plant will start getting more leaves closer together. It'll start getting bushier at the top. It'll just be a lot happier. I know some people don't really have that option, but which is why I love Pothos so much, is because they can live in lighter areas, but that is a way you can get your plant to look fuller. Obviously, too much sun and your plant will look a lot like missy right here, and you don't want that. It's sad, honestly. Too little light, you'll lose your variegation in your leaves, and you'll have leaves that grow farther apart, and just all in all, a very slow growing plant. Okay, number 4, water. We all know the dangers of watering too little, watering too much, and I know sometimes it's really hard to tell like when the best time to water is. If you don't water your plants enough, they will get droopy and they'll look really sad, and you can just tell that they're thirsty. The leaves normally have a little bit of like structure to them, and you'll know that your plant needs water when they're really, really flimsy, droopy. So if you water your plants too little, they're not going to grow as much. And same thing if you water your plants too much, you can have all sorts of issues with overwatering as well. So you definitely want to pay attention to how often you're watering. You can always do the soil test. So you can take your finger and stick it down in the first third of the soil, or maybe the first couple of inches. And if you pull it out and there's soil on your finger, I just watered this one, then it's not ready to be watered. If you stick your finger in and you pull it out, this one's watered, so whatever. If you pull it out and you don't have any dirt sticking to your fingers, then it's time to water. So those are a couple ways that you can tell. There are 2 types of watering that I know of, top watering and bottom watering. Top watering is when you just normally water a plant, you pour the water in there and you wait for all the excess water to drain out of the hole. And for bottom watering, it's super easy. It's my method of choice for watering. You can just put it in a tub of water. Well, I have a tub of water or a bowl or anything, and just give it a few minutes, maybe like 10 minutes to soak up all the water. And the plant will actually only soak up all the water that it needs and won't take any extra, which is why it's my personal like favorite form, because I am prone to overwatering. I love my plants a little too much, and I'm always trying to water them and check on them, and you know, I'm like a helicopter mom for my plants. Okay, number 5, temperature. Temperature stress can cause the leaves to look limp and shriveled. So temperature stress is when you put a plant in an environment that it's not like able to handle. So for this variety of plants, you want to keep them between 65 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit and 19 to 29 degrees Celsius. We're gonna start off with the first one, the most obvious one, propagation. I'm gonna go ahead and take some cuttings from this plant. Like, look at this one. This one's perfect. Look at all these nodes. I've done this before to this plant and she came back with fury, but now she's just not happy anymore. So when you do take a cutting, you want to rip off some of the bottom leaves, and it just leaves a little bit of stem so the leaves don't rot off into your water and cause bacteria. What do you think? Maybe one more? I'll do one more. All right, there she is, ready. Over here. I don't know if it's gonna work. I don't know if she'll come back if I chop all the leaves off. I mean, all the vines off. But I'm gonna. So. guys, so that's all I have for you today. Thanks so much for stopping by my video. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. You guys know the deal. I'll see you next week for another video. Bye.